Now we have reviewed different aspects of superconductivity, and there is one very important aspect of superconductivity which has numerous applications, especially device applications, and currently in the age of quantum computation, this particular aspect of superconductivity has emerged in a big way, namely the phenomena of Josephson effect and the Josephson junctions and its related device, which is a SQUID device, superconducting quantum interference device. This particular aspect of superconductivity is really growing at the present moment because it has vast applications for different types of circuits, whether it be in quantum computation circuits or other circuits. This particular phenomena is very heavily being used. So let us look at this phenomena of Josephson junctions. But before we look at the phenomena of Josephson junctions, let us understand the behavior of an interface. What is the current voltage characteristics of a normal superconductor, a normal metal, and a superconductor junction? How does the IV characteristics of this junction look like? Okay, so let us understand that first. And here again, because these are introductory lectures, these are overview lectures, I will not get into a great deal of equations and this thing. Just the basic whatever is required for understanding these concepts, I will be presenting only that much. Later on, in more detailed discussion of Josephson junction effect, I will work out the derivations, but for now I will present an overview. So let's get into understanding the Josephson junction phenomena. But first, let us look at a normal superconductor interface and its IV characteristics. So let us look at the IV characteristics of a normal metal superconducting junction. So what do you have here? Let us consider that you have a normal metal and which is in contact with a superconductor. Okay, so let us consider that you have a normal metal which is in contact with a superconductor. So let us draw it properly. Okay, so this is a normal metal, and you can do it by taking a superconductor and evaporating a metal on it, okay, or depositing metal film on the superconductor, and then you will have a normal superconducting junction. So this is typically a normal superconducting junction, and we would like to measure its IV characteristics. So what do? What we do is that we bias it, we measure the current. You have, say, an ammeter or a multimeter, and through that you measure how much current is flowing across the junction, and as a function of the bias voltage you measure the current which is flowing through across this junction. What you will find is that the IV characteristics, if I plot the IV characteristics, then as I vary the voltage, the current will be initially 0. So let's look at the IV characteristics. The current will be initially 0. There will be no current which will be allowed to pass through the junction, and only beyond a certain value of current, only beyond a certain value of voltage will you start getting current flowing through the junction. Okay, so the current will be 0 initially, and only beyond a certain voltage a current will start flowing through the junction. This is how the behavior will be. This is your voltage and this is your current which is going to flow across this metal insulator junction. So you have a normal metal, let's say a normal metal, and the green represents the superconductor. So how does one understand this process? Basically what you have is that, so let us draw this. You have a interface, you have the superconducting interface, you have the superconductor normal interface. On one end you have your normal metal. So let's draw it in blue because above I have drawn in blue. So here you have your normal metal, where below the Fermi energy everything is occupied, and the Fermi energy is, say, the Fermi energies of the superconductor and normal metal, let's say, are roughly close to each other. Okay, not very different because both are of the order of electron volts. Now you assume that the two metals, one is superconducting and the normal metal doesn't, for example gold maybe, or platinum or some aluminium, some sort of a metal, and on the other end you maybe have niobium. Okay, and you assume that the two metals, the two materials on either side have roughly the same Fermi level. But on the superconducting side, so this is your normal metal side and this is your superconductor, but on the superconductor side you have a gap in the density of states. So whereas your Fermi level is here in the superconductor, on the superconducting side this is your Fermi level, but there is a gap which is present in the density of states. So these are all single particle states which are occupied and these are vacant states. Okay, now what happens is that you will have no electrons. So these electrons which are present here cannot cross over into this superconductor because there are no available states which are present in the superconducting region. There is a gap. Okay, so there is a gap in the density of states. Okay, so you have a gap in the density of states, and as a result this transfer of electron from here to here is not possible. Similarly, from here to here, these are electrons which are present, these are completely filled states, the electron is present, but this electron cannot come here because there is a gap. Okay, so what do? If you apply a voltage, your level will move up and down. Okay, as you apply a potential, as you apply a voltage, you can move this level up or down. So by moving it up, for example, by applying a suitable polarity of voltage or electric field, you can actually move this Fermi level up and coincide it with here. Okay, so if you move the voltage by a certain amount, so by applying a voltage, if you move this voltage up by applying a voltage V, if you move this up here, then if your level coincides, so this is your level, and if this level coincides with the vacant states available out here, then which an electron which is present here can easily get transmitted into this region. Okay, and similarly you can also apply a voltage and move this up, the bottom of the conduction band which is present here. You can move the superconducting side up to match with the Fermi level on this side, and then you can start, there are vacant states available on the normal side above this Fermi level, and you can have electrons which can also move from this end to this end. So the either ways you will have a current which can flow either from normal to superconductor or superconductor to normal, depends on how you apply the voltage. Okay, so this you can have a current which can also flow like this. Okay, now what is this value of the voltage? This value of the voltage is when EV is equal to delta, namely this size of this gap. So if you move the voltage, if you move the voltage by an amount which is of the size of the gap, when the energy becomes of the order of the superconducting gap, a current will begin to flow because you will have electrons which can move from here to here. Or this is a voltage at which delta by E. Often this gap can also be written as delta by 2 above EV. Okay, so and sometimes you will find that this gap, so sometimes you will find in some books that this gap is written like this. Okay, so if I have, if this is your Fermi level on the normal side and this is the superconducting side and this is the gap, around the Fermi level, then if delta is the total gap, this is delta by 2 above the Fermi level, delta by 2 below the Fermi level, then the voltage in this particular case, for this particular case, the voltage is at which you will get conduction when this, let's say, is moved up so that it comes out here. Okay, then you will have electrons which can go from this end to this end to the vacant states. These are vacant states out here and these are filled states on this end of the superconductor. Then V is delta by 2 by E. Okay, or V is equal to delta by 2E. Okay, this is also another way of seeing this voltage. Okay, so this is how your IV will behave. Namely, for a voltage which is less than delta by E or delta by 2E, you will have no current which is flowing in the system. Okay, however, for a voltage which is greater than delta by 2E, you will have current which is flowing in the system. So this is how a normal junction. So in a normal metal superconductor junction, for voltages which is less than delta by 2E, the current I through the system is 0. I is not equal to 0 only when V is greater than delta by 2E, and you can have plus minus. Okay, it can be plus minus because either you move this end or you move this end. So the current on, if you move this one up, the voltage will, the current will flow from normal to superconducting side. If you move the superconducting side up by voltage by 2E, by delta by 2E, then this bottom of the filled band will match with the Fermi level on the normal side, and then current will flow from this end to this end. So either ways you can do this game, and the current will flow in the positive or negative direction only when the voltage is greater than delta by 2E. However, so now let's come, this is how a normal junction behaves, a normal superconductor junction behaves. What happens if we make a sandwich structure? So let us make a sandwich of superconductor, normal superconductor junction. Namely, the normal region is sandwiched between two superconductors. So what you have is a superconductor. Here you have some normal region, a thin normal region, and on this end you have again a superconductor, and this is where you have your normal region. Okay, so this is your normal region, and on either end you have the superconductor. And what you can do is that you can again do the same thing. You can make contacts and you can study the flow of, as you and you can also measure how much is the voltage drop across this junction. Okay, so either you apply a voltage, or at 0 volts also you can find out how much is the current flowing through the junction. So you can also try to push in current without sending in without any voltage developing across the junction. So this is one way of doing the experiment. The other way of doing the experiment would be to use a current source. Okay, so to use a current source where you push in a current into the system, and you have an ammeter which is measuring how much current you are pushing into the system, and you measure how much is the voltage drop across the junction, and then you have this superconductor. So this is your and you have a normal region in this is your normal region. So you can also do this experiment this way, where you send in current and you measure the voltage drop across it. Okay, and what you will find is that here in the Josephson junction the situation becomes different. Okay, so you have voltage, you have current. What you will find is that you can send currents up to 0 to plus IC and 0 to minus IC with 0 voltage through this junction. Okay, through this normal superconductor interface you can send currents I up to plus minus IC, where ICs could be of the order of few milliamps, microamps to few milliamps, depending on the quality of the junction, you can send currents up to IC with V is equal to 0. So just compare it with our earlier case. In our earlier case, for normal superconducting junction, I is equal to 0 for V less than delta by 2E. For where V is equal to delta by 2B, the current through the junction is always 0. If V becomes greater than delta by 2E, I is not equal to 0. But then a voltage is always present. For a finite current to flow through the junction, there is a finite voltage required to be sent through the junction. So for finite current through junction, you need finite voltage for a normal superconductor junction, or for finite current a finite voltage exists across the junction. But when you have a superconductor normal superconducting junction, then you can send a finite amount of current at 0 voltage. So the junction is dissipation less for currents up to plus minus IC. Up to plus minus IC you can send a current, and only above this critical current you will have a voltage which will develop. If you send in a current which is greater than IC, okay, plus minus IC, then you will have a current voltage which will develop, okay, across the junction only beyond IC. However, over up to IC, the voltage across the junction will be 0. So you can send in a finite amount of current through the junction at 0 voltage. Okay, and this is the Josephson effect. This also led to a Nobel Prize. A discovery of this effect also led to the Nobel Prize. So if you take a superconductor, normal superconductor sandwich, and if you send in current, then you will find that up to the critical current, up to plus minus value of the critical current, you will be able to send in current through the junction without any voltage developing across the junction. And for currents beyond the critical current, a finite voltage drop appears across the junction. Okay, so this is the experiment that you can do to actually look at a Josephson junction. Now, for observing Josephson junction effect, the thickness of the normal region between the superconductors is of the order of coherence length. Namely, the thickness of this particular region. You cannot use any arbitrarily thick material. For example, you cannot take a 1 centimeter or 1 millimeter, even a 1 millimeter block of a metal and put two superconductors on either end and do this and hope to see the Josephson effect. No such thing will happen. Okay, this junction has to be of the order of superconducting coherence length, and this xi is typically few tens of nanometers. Okay, this xi for typical superconductors is of the order of your coherence length of the superconductor. So the thickness of this has to be less than the thickness of this has to be less than xi, the coherence length of the superconductor. So it has to be a really thin layer, and you have two superconductors which are sandwiching this really thin layer. So this sort of the normal region in between the superconductor has a thickness T which has to be less than xi, of the order of few nanometers. Xi, where xi is the coherence length. This is the coherence length of a superconductor. and this normal region is called the weak link between two superconductors. Okay, so often what you can do is that you don't need to also put in some normal region between two superconducting region. What some people do is that you take two superconductors, suppose you have this strip of a superconductor. Okay, then you can actually pattern, you can start etching out the superconductor from these regions, and you can start narrowing down this gap G between the two regions, and what you can land up with is something like this. If this gap between them is really narrow, then this region also behaves like, so this is a weak link. This also behaves like a Josephson junction. Such type of junctions which are created between superconducting region with a weak link in between, whose IV characteristic is like this, namely at 0 voltage you can push in about currents of plus minus IC into the system. Such type of junctions are called as Josephson junctions, and they exhibit this Josephson junction effect, where up to the DC Josephson junction effect basically involves that in up to 0 voltage you can send in currents up to plus minus IC into the junction, and beyond IC you will get a finite voltage which will appear across the junction.